During a family dinner, I watched my father-in-law destroy my grandson. We were sitting in Victor Brandt's dining room, the kind of room that screams money without having to say a word. Crystal chandelier hanging over a table that could seat 12, polished hardwood floors that probably cost more than my truck, windows overlooking a lawn so perfect it looked fake. Mia and I sat on one side of the table. Our son Liam and his wife Harper sat across from us. Victor held court at the head, naturally. My grandson Ethan, EJ, we called him, sat next to his mother, picking at his food. The kid was 8 years old, sensitive, smart, the kind of kid who noticed things other people missed. He reminded me of myself at that age, before I learned to keep my head down. "So, Owen," Victor said, swirling wine in a glass that probably cost what I made in a week. "Still fixing toilets for a living?" Everyone laughed. Polite laughter, the kind that says we're all in on the joke, except I was the joke. "Maintenance supervisor," I said, "and safety inspector." Right. Victor waved his hand like the distinction didn't matter. "Very important work, I'm sure." More laughter. Harper's was the loudest, that high-pitched giggle she did when she wanted to impress her father. Liam smiled into his wineglass. I cut into my steak. Victor always served good steak at these dinners. I think he enjoyed watching me eat food I couldn't normally afford. Small reminder of the gap between us. Mia touched my knee under the table. A warning. Don't react. Keep the peace. I'd been keeping the peace for 8 years. Since the day Liam married Harper and joined the Brandt family business. Since the day my son looked at his new in-laws and decided they were worth more than the people who raised him. "EJ," Victor said suddenly, "sit up straight." My grandson straightened in his chair. His fork clattered against his plate. "You're slouching," Victor continued. "Bad posture. Makes you look weak." "Sorry, Grandpa," EJ whispered. "Sorry isn't enough. You need to learn." Victor set down his wineglass. "Stand up." The table went quiet. Even Harper stopped giggling. "Dad," Mia started. "Stand up, Ethan," Victor repeated. EJ looked at his mother. Harper gave a tiny nod. The kid stood, his face turning red. "Now," Victor said, leaning back in his chair, "tell everyone at this table what you said to your teacher last week." My hands tightened on my knife and fork. I knew where this was going. Harper had mentioned it in the car on the way over. EJ had talked back to his teacher. Kid stuff. Nothing serious. "I told Mrs. Patterson she was wrong about something," EJ said, his voice barely audible. "And what gives you the right to correct an adult? I don't know. You don't know." Victor smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "That's the problem with your generation. No respect, no discipline. When I was your age, if I talked back to a teacher, my father would have taken a belt to me." "Different times," I said quietly. Victor's eyes snapped to me. "Different times, yes. Softer times. That's why we have soft children." "He's 8, Mia said. "Old enough to learn respect." Victor turned back to EJ. "You will write a letter of apology to your teacher, 500 words, and you will read it to her in front of your class." EJ's eyes filled with tears. He tried to blink them back, but one rolled down his cheek. "Are you crying?" Victor's voice turned cold. "Tears are for babies, Ethan. Are you a baby?" "No, sir." "Then stop crying. Right now." More tears came. The kid was trying so hard to hold them back, his whole body was shaking. "Unbelievable," Victor muttered. He looked at Liam. "This is what happens when you coddle children. Your father clearly didn't teach you how to raise a son properly." That's when something broke inside me. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet snap, like a wire pulled too tight for too long. I set down my knife and fork, carefully, precisely, the way I'd learned to do everything in the army, controlled, measured, no wasted movement. "Owen," Mia whispered. I stood up, walked around the table to where EJ was standing. The kid looked up at me with those wet eyes, confused and scared and hoping someone would save him. "Come on, buddy," I said. I held out my hand. He took it. "What are you doing?" Victor asked. I didn't answer, just held my grandson's hand and started walking toward the door. "Owen!" Harper's voice went shrill. "Where are you taking him?" "Lesson's over," I said. I didn't turn around. "We're done here." "You can't just leave," Liam said, standing up. "Dad's trying to help him." That's when I stopped, turned around, looked at my son. "Thank you, Dad. Maybe this will teach him something," I said, repeating Harper's words from earlier in perfect mimicry. Liam's face went red. Harper's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "You're being ridiculous," Victor said. I was giving the boy a valuable lesson about respect and discipline. I looked at him then, really looked at him, saw him for exactly what he was, a bully in expensive clothes, a man who thought money gave him the right to break an 8-year-old kid in his own dining room. "Is that what we're calling it?" I asked. "If you had taught your son properly," Victor said, "he wouldn't have raised a child who needs correction." Something must have shown on my face because Mia stood up, her chair scraping against the hardwood. "Owen," she said. Not a warning this time, a plea. I squeezed EJ's hand, gave Victor one last look. "Good night, Victor," I said. I walked out with my grandson, didn't look back. Behind me I heard Harper say, "I cannot believe he just did that." And Liam, "He's always been oversensitive." And Victor, "Well, that confirms everything I've always thought about Owen Keller." They had no idea who they were dealing with, but they were going to learn. The drive home was quiet. EJ sat in the back seat of my truck, staring out the window. Mia sat beside me, her jaw tight. She was angry. I just wasn't sure if she was angry at me or at them. Probably both. We dropped EJ off at Liam's townhouse. Harper opened the door, snatched EJ inside without a word, and slammed it in our faces. Through the window, I could see Liam pacing in the living room, phone pressed to his ear, probably calling Victor, probably apologizing for his oversensitive father. Mia and I drove back to our duplex in silence. We'd lived there for 15 years, in a cul-de-sac where the lawns needed mowing and the cars were more than 5 years old. It wasn't Victor's neighborhood, wasn't even close, but it was paid off, and it was ours. I parked in the driveway, sat there with the engine running, hands on the wheel. "Say something," Mia finally said. "What do you want me to say?" "I want you to tell me you're not going to do something stupid." I looked at her. 28 years of marriage, and she could still read me like a book. "Define stupid," I said. "Owen. He humiliated EJ at a dinner table in front of everyone." "I know. And our son sat there and let it happen. Worse, he defended it." "I know," Mia said again. Her voice cracked. "I know, baby. But if you go after Victor, I'm not going to do anything illegal. That's not what I'm worried about." I turned off the engine. We sat in the dark driveway, the house lights off because we'd left in a hurry for dinner. "When did we lose him?" I asked. Mia didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was soft. "Probably the first time Victor gave him a job title that sounded important. Probably the first time Harper introduced him as my husband, the project manager. He used to want to be like me. I know. Now he's ashamed of me. I know." I got out of the truck. Mia followed me inside. I went straight to the basement, turned on the light, and stared at the workbench I'd built 20 years ago. Tools hung on pegboards, paint cans lined the shelves, everything organized, everything in its place. In the corner, behind some boxes of Christmas decorations, was a green metal toolbox, army issue. I hadn't opened it in years. "Whatever you're thinking," Mia said from the stairs, "don't." I pulled out the toolbox. Dust came off in sheets. I set it on the workbench and popped the latches. Inside, notebooks, diagrams, photos, relics from another life. Before I was Owen Keller, maintenance supervisor. Before I was Owen Keller, disappointing father-in-law. When I was Owen Keller, combat engineer. The guy who understood how things worked, how systems connected, how to find the pressure points in any structure, building, organization, or person, and apply exactly the right amount of force to bring it down. Owen, Mia said, please. I picked up one of the notebooks, flipped through pages of diagrams and notes. My handwriting from 25 years ago, younger and sharper. They think I'm harmless, I said. You're not going to hurt him. You're not going to hurt any of them. No, I agreed. I closed the notebook. I'm not going to hurt them. Mia waited. She knew there was more. I'm going to teach them, I said. The way Victor taught EJ. I'm going to give them a valuable lesson about respect and consequences. Owen. They wanted to show my grandson what happens when you're weak. I looked at her. I'll show them what happens when the quiet guy stops being weak. Mia stared at me for a long moment. Then she came down the stairs, stood next to me at the workbench, looking at the open toolbox. How bad is this going to get? She asked. That depends on them. Will anyone get hurt? Not permanently. She picked up one of the photos from the toolbox. Me in uniform, 20 pounds lighter and a lifetime younger, standing in front of a half-demolished building. I haven't seen this face in years, she said, touching the photo. I forgot how scary you look when you're focused. I'm not scary. Baby, you're terrifying. She set down the photo. Just promise me one thing. What? Don't lose yourself in this. Don't become something you can't come back from. I pulled her close, kissed the top of her head. She smelled like the lavender shampoo she'd used for 20 years. I promise, I said. It was the only lie I told her that night. The Monday morning, I went to work like nothing happened, put on my gray coveralls with Keller stitched on the pocket, drove to the Morrison office complex on the edge of town, 12 floors of glass and steel, home to lawyers, accountants, and tech startups that would be gone in 5 years. I'd worked there for 15 years. Started as a regular maintenance guy, worked my way up to supervisor. These days, I mostly did inspections and paperwork, but I still knew every pipe, wire, and bolt in the building, and every camera. My office was in the basement, next to the boiler room. Not fancy, but I liked it. Concrete floor, metal desk, filing cabinets full of safety reports and maintenance logs. A small window near the ceiling showed feet walking past on the sidewalk. I made coffee in the ancient pot I'd brought from home. Sat at my desk, pulled up the security system on my computer. The Morrison complex had 64 cameras, covering every floor, every stairwell, every entrance and exit. I had full access to all of them. Part of my job was monitoring for safety hazards, checking that emergency exits stayed clear, making sure contractors followed protocols. I pulled up the footage from last Friday afternoon, skipped through it until I found what I was looking for, a delivery van pulling up to the loading dock, Brandt Development logo on the side. Victor's company had been doing some renovation work on the 4th floor, converting office space into luxury suites or some nonsense. I'd seen the crews coming and going for weeks. I watched the footage, saw workers unloading supplies, saw them cutting corners, no hard hats in a construction zone, no safety harnesses near open windows, power tools with frayed cords, all violations, all documented, all on camera. I saved the files to a flash drive. Then I pulled up the building's maintenance database and started cross-referencing inspection reports from Brandt Development's other sites around the city. My phone buzzed. Text from Liam. We need to talk. I deleted it without responding. Another text. You embarrassed Harper in front of her father. She's very upset. I stared at that one for a minute. Harper was upset, not EJ, who'd been humiliated and brought to tears. Harper, who'd lost face in front of Daddy. I deleted that one too. Third text. Dad, I'm serious. We need to set some boundaries. Boundaries. That was a new word. Liam had learned it from Harper, probably. or from one of those parenting books they read while ignoring actual parenting. I typed back, "I'm at work." The response came fast. "Harper and I are talking about limiting your access to EJ until you can be more respectful." I read that 3 times. Let it sink in. They were going to use my grandson as leverage, as punishment for walking out of Victor's house, for refusing to sit there while an 8-year-old got broken down for sport. My hand tightened on the phone. For a second, I thought about calling Liam, asking him when exactly he'd become the kind of man who weaponized his own son, asking him if Victor had promised him a promotion for this. Instead, I set down the phone, turned back to my computer, pulled up a new search in the city permit database. People think the world is run by bosses, by men like Victor Brandt, who make speeches and shake hands and show up in the local paper cutting ribbons at new developments. But that's not how it really works. The world is run by the guys who know where the wires go, where the money flows, where the bodies are buried, metaphorically speaking. And I knew all of it. I'd spent 8 years watching Victor's company from the edges, seeing the corners they cut, the safety violations they papered over, the workers they underpaid, and the inspectors they buddied up to. I'd kept quiet because Liam worked there, because I didn't want to cause problems for my son, but my son had just threatened to take away my grandson. I pulled up another file, then another, started building a timeline, a map, a detailed picture of every shady thing Brandt Development had done in the past 5 years. All public record, all documented, all perfectly legal for me to access. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Liam. "I'm being serious, Dad." I looked at it for a long moment. Then I typed back, "So am I." That night, Mia came home from her shift at the clinic around 7. She was a nurse manager these days, which meant long hours and a lot of stress dealing with doctors who thought they ran the place. She found me in the kitchen, papers spread across the table, printouts of city permits, safety reports, contractor complaints, a web of connections with Victor's name in the center. "How bad?" she asked, dropping her purse on the counter. "Pretty bad." She poured herself a glass of wine, looked at my papers without touching them. "Legally bad or just morally bad?" "Morally. But the legal stuff is coming. There's an inspection scheduled at his downtown site next month. If they look closely..." "Will they look closely?" "They will if someone points them in the right direction." Mia sat down across from me, sipped her wine. She looked tired. We were both tired. Tired of being dismissed and looked down on. Tired of watching our son choose his wife's family over us. Tired of being the lesser people in our own family. "Liam texted me too," she said. "Said we need to respect Harper's boundaries. He threatened to limit access to EJ." "I know. He told me." She took another sip. "He doesn't see what he's doing. He thinks he's protecting his son from our drama." "We don't have drama. We walked out of an abusive situation." "That's not how they're spinning it. According to Harper's Instagram, you had an inappropriate outburst and caused a scene." "She put it on Instagram?" "Multiple stories, with sad face emojis. She's getting a lot of sympathy from her followers." I stood up, paced to the window, looked out at our quiet cul-de-sac. Mrs. Patterson across the street was walking her dog. The Johnson's kid was shooting baskets in his driveway. Normal people, normal problems. Victor Brandt lived 6 miles away in a different world. A world where you could humiliate children at dinner parties and everyone would call it teaching a lesson. Where you could threaten your own father-in-law and frame it as setting boundaries. "I need you to tell me something," Mia said. I turned around. She was looking at me with that expression I knew too well, the one that said she already knew the answer but needed to hear me say it. "When you're done with this," she said, "with whatever you're planning, are you going to be able to stop?" "Yes." "You promise?" I thought about the toolbox in the basement, the notebooks and diagrams, the part of me that had been dormant for 25 years, but had never really died. The part that knew how to take apart anything, buildings, organizations, people, and leave nothing but rubble. I promise, I said. Second lie. But Mia nodded like she believed me. Maybe she did. Maybe she needed to. She stood up, walked to me, took my face in her hands. I love you, Owen Keller, even when you're being stupid. I'm not being stupid, I'm being careful. Same thing sometimes. She kissed me. Just remember, EJ needs his grandfather, not a news story about his grandfather. I'll remember. She went upstairs to change. I went back to my papers. My phone buzzed. Another text, but not from Liam this time. From Harper. We're having a family meeting next Sunday, at our house. You and Mia need to attend so we can discuss appropriate behavior around EJ going forward. I stared at that for a full minute. A family meeting. To discuss my appropriate behavior. I typed back, "What time?" Because I was going to go. I was going to sit in their living room and listen to whatever bullshit speech Harper had prepared. I was going to nod in all the right places and apologize for all the right things. And I was going to smile. Because they had no idea what was coming. They thought I was harmless Owen Keller, the maintenance guy, the oversensitive father who couldn't take a joke, the blue-collar embarrassment who didn't understand how successful people operated. They were about to learn different. I circled next Sunday's date on the calendar hanging by the fridge, wrote in small letters underneath, "First lesson." Then I went back to my papers and kept working. While you're here, hit the hype button. Don't forget to subscribe and support this channel with a like. And tell us below, have you ever faced something like this? Tuesday afternoon, I met with Danny Ferraro at the diner on 5th Street. Danny was a union rep for the local construction workers union. We'd known each other for 15 years, ever since he helped me sort out a workman's comp issue at Morrison. He was already in a booth when I arrived, working on a stack of pancakes despite it being 3 in the afternoon. Danny was a big guy, 6'3" and solid, with gray hair and a face that looked like it had taken a few punches. "Owen," he said, syrup on his chin. "Long time. You switching careers? Tired of fixing toilets?" "Maintenance supervisor," I said automatically, sliding into the booth. Right. Very important work." He grinned. "What can I do for you?" I ordered coffee from the waitress. Waited until she walked away. "I need to know about Brandt Development's safety record." Danny's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. "Victor Brandt? That's your son-in-law's company." "I know. You looking to cause problems?" "I'm looking for information." Danny set down his fork, wiped his mouth with a napkin. "What kind of information?" "Violations, complaints, anything that's public record but maybe not widely known." "Why?" "Personal reasons." Danny studied me for a long moment. Then he smiled slowly. "Victor finally piss you off? Took long enough. That guy's an asshole." "You know him?" "Everyone in construction knows Victor Brandt. He's got a reputation. Lowballs contractors, cuts corners, treats workers like they're disposable." Danny leaned back. "But he's got connections, so nothing ever sticks." "What kind of connections?" "City council, planning commission, the usual suspects. He donates to the right campaigns, shows up at the right charity events, and suddenly his permits sail through while everyone else waits months." The waitress brought my coffee. I wrapped my hands around the mug. "What if someone looked closely at his sites?" I asked. "What would they find?" "Depends who's looking." "Say it's someone thorough, someone who knows what to look for." Danny picked up his fork again, pushed his pancakes around. "They'd find enough to shut down half his projects. Safety harnesses that don't meet code, electrical work that's not up to spec, workers without proper certifications." He paused. "You got someone in mind?" "Maybe." "Owen." Danny leaned forward. "I've known you a long time. You're not the type to start shit without a good reason. What did Victor do? He lessoned my grandson. Then my son backed him up. Danny's face went hard. He had 3 kids of his own, all grown now, but he still got that look when you mentioned kids getting hurt. How bad? Bad enough. And you want to what? File a complaint? Get him shut down? I want to make sure the next time there's an inspection, they find exactly what they're supposed to find. Danny was quiet for a minute. Then he pulled out his phone, scrolled through something, and turned it around to show me. That's a list of complaints filed against Brandt Development in the last 3 years. All official, all ignored, because Victor knows how to make things go away. He pulled the phone back. But if those complaints got sent to the right person at the right time, say, right before a scheduled inspection, they might take a closer look. Who's the right person? State inspector named Thomas Brennan. He's new to the area, doesn't know Victor yet, doesn't owe him any favors. Danny wrote a name and email on a napkin. He's a by-the-book guy. If you give him a reason to dig, he'll dig. I took the napkin, folded it, put it in my pocket. I appreciate this, Danny. Don't thank me yet. Victor's got lawyers. He'll fight back. Let him. Danny studied me again. You're different today. I've known you 15 years, and I've never seen you like this. Like what? Like you've already decided how this ends. I finished my coffee, stood up, put a 20 on the table. Thanks for the information, I said. Danny caught my arm. Owen, be smart about this. Men like Victor don't go down easy. They take people with them. I'm counting on it, I said. That evening, I drove past one of Victor's construction sites. It was on the north side, a half-finished condo development called Riverside Manor. Except there was no river, just a drainage ditch and some optimistic marketing. The site was empty this late, the workers gone home. Security was a single chain-link fence and a bored guard in a booth who was watching something on his phone. I drove past slowly, noted the gaps in the fence, the construction equipment parked haphazardly, the stacks of building materials covered with tarps that had blown loose in the wind. Sloppy. I'd seen military bases in war zones with better security than Victor's job sites. I parked a block away, sat in my truck for a while, watching the sun go down, thinking about what Danny had said. Men like Victor don't go down easy. He was right. But men like Victor also made a crucial mistake. They got comfortable. They thought their money and connections made them untouchable. They stopped watching their backs because nobody had hit them from behind in so long. That was the weakness, the pressure point, comfort. My phone rang. Mia. Where are you? She asked. Driving around, thinking. About? About how Victor built an empire on cutting corners and nobody ever called him on it. Owen. I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm just looking. That's what worries me. You're not just looking. You're planning. Maybe. She sighed. Come home. I made dinner. What are we having? Spaghetti. And a conversation about how this doesn't destroy us. It won't destroy us. That's what you keep saying. I started the truck. I'm on my way. Good. Because I talked to someone at work today who knows someone who used to work for Brandt Development. And if you're really doing this, you need to know what you're up against. I drove home faster than I should have. Mia's spaghetti was always good, basic, but she made her own sauce and didn't overboil the pasta. We ate at the kitchen table with the papers cleared away, pretending this was just a normal dinner on a normal night. So, Mia said, twirling spaghetti on her fork. The person I talked to, her name's Kelly. She's a physical therapist at the clinic. Her brother worked for Victor about 5 years ago. Doing what? Site supervisor. Good job, decent pay, until he started asking questions about some of the materials they were using. Substandard concrete, wrong kind of rebar, that sort of thing. What happened? Victor fired him, claimed he was embezzling, couldn't prove it, but the accusation was enough. Kelly's brother couldn't get another job in construction in this city, had to move to Pittsburgh to find work. I set down my fork. Victor framed him. Kelly thinks so. She said her brother kept meticulous records, but somehow they disappeared from his office the day he got fired. Did he go to the police? He tried. But Victor's connected, remember? Without evidence, it was just one guy's word against a respected businessman. So, Victor doesn't just cut corners, he destroys anyone who calls him on it. That's the pattern, yeah. Mia took a sip of water. Kelly told me about 2 other people who had similar experiences. Different reasons, same result. Their careers got torched. Why didn't they band together? File a group complaint? Fear, mostly. Victor's got deep pockets and good lawyers. He tied up one guy in depositions for 3 years, cost him $50,000 in legal fees. The guy went bankrupt before the case even went to trial. I thought about that. About Victor sitting in his big house drinking expensive wine, humiliating children at dinner parties, knowing he was untouchable, knowing nobody could fight back because the cost was too high. You're telling me this as a warning, I said. I'm telling you this so you know what you're walking into. Victor isn't just an asshole. He's a strategic asshole. He's been playing this game a long time. So have I. That was 25 years ago, and it was war. This is also war, I said. Just a different kind. Mia looked at me for a long moment. Then she stood up, cleared the plates, and came back with a laptop. If you're really doing this, she said, opening it, then you need to be smarter than him, which means you need information he doesn't know you have. What kind of information? She turned the laptop to face me. On the screen was a Facebook group, one of those community gossip pages where people complained about potholes and lost dogs and town politics. There's a thread from 6 months ago, Mia said, about Brandt development, workers complaining about late paychecks, safety issues, someone even posted photos. I scrolled through it. The thread was long, dozens of comments from different people, all saying variations of the same thing. Victor Brandt treated his workers like garbage. He never responded? I asked. Harper did. She came on as the company rep and did damage control. Said the complaints were from disgruntled former employees spreading lies, threatened to sue for defamation. The thread died after that. But the complaints were real. According to Kelly, yeah, but nobody wanted to risk a lawsuit. I kept scrolling, found the photos, construction sites with obvious violations, workers without hard hats, scaffolding that didn't look stable, electrical boxes left open in the rain. Can I send these to myself? Already did. Check your email. I looked at her. You're helping me. I'm giving you information. What you do with it is your choice. She paused. But Owen, if you're going to war with Victor, you need to go all in. Half measures won't work. He'll crush you. I know. Do you? She closed the laptop. Because I've been thinking about what you said the other night, about teaching them a lesson, and I need you to be honest with me. What does the end of this look like? I thought about that. Really thought about it. Liam loses his job, I said. Harper loses her reputation. Victor loses his company, or at least enough of it that he can't hurt anyone else. And then what? You think they'll just accept it? You think they won't fight back? They'll fight, but they'll lose. How can you be so sure? I leaned forward. Because they think I'm harmless. They think I'm just the maintenance guy who doesn't understand their world. But I understand it perfectly. I understand it better than they do. That's arrogance talking. No, it's experience. I stood up. You know what I did in the army. I built things and I broke things. I figured out how structures worked. Not just buildings, but systems, supply chains, command hierarchies. I learned how to find the weak points and exploit them. That was a long time ago. Skills don't expire, Mia. They just get rusty. And I'm knocking off the rust. She stood too, came around the table, put her hands on my chest. I'm not trying to stop you, she said quietly. I stopped trying that the second you opened that toolbox. I just need you to remember something. What? When you're done tearing them down, we still have to live in this city. We still have to see these people, and we still need to be able to look at ourselves in the mirror. I'll remember. Will you? I kissed her forehead. I promise. Third lie. But it made her feel better, so I told it. Later that night, I went down to the basement and spread out everything I had. The city reports, the Facebook photos, Danny's list of complaints, the security footage from Morrison showing Brandt workers cutting corners. I added the new information from Mia, the names of people Victor had destroyed, the pattern of retaliation. Then I started building a timeline. Not just of what Victor had done, but of what he was planning. His calendar was public. The company website listed upcoming projects, groundbreakings, inspections. In 2 weeks, he had a big presentation, pitching Brandt Development to a major client who wanted to build a new headquarters downtown. Big money, big prestige. In 3 weeks, there was a charity gala. Victor was hosting, naturally. Some benefit for youth sports. Ironic, given how he treated his own grandson. In 4 weeks, the state inspection at his downtown site. 4 weeks to dismantle a man who thought he was untouchable. 4 weeks to teach them all a lesson about respect and consequences. I pulled out a red marker, started circling dates, drawing lines between events, mapping out the campaign the way I'd mapped out operations in the Army. Target identification, resource assessment, contingency planning. It felt good, like putting on an old coat that still fit perfectly. My phone buzzed. Text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Harper. The family meeting Sunday is at 2 p.m. Don't be late. I saved the number, typed back, we'll be there. Then I added another note to my timeline. Sunday, 2 p.m. Family meeting. First contact, I wrote next to it, because that's what it was going to be. The first time I showed them I wasn't backing down. The first time they realized the quiet guy had teeth. I worked until midnight. When I finally went upstairs, Mia was already asleep. I slid into bed carefully, trying not to wake her. Owen, she mumbled, half asleep. Yeah? Whatever happens, we're in this together, okay? Okay. Even if it gets bad. It won't get that bad. She rolled over, opened one eye. Yes, it will. That's what you're not saying. It's going to get really bad, and when it does, I need you to remember that I chose you. Not them, you. I know. Good. She closed her eye. Now go to sleep. You've got work in the morning. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, thinking about what was coming. 4 weeks. Victor had no idea the clock was ticking, but he would. Soon. Wednesday morning, Billy worked me harder than Monday. By the time I left the gym, I was limping. You need to stretch more, he said. You're not 25. Your body needs recovery time. I'll recover after this is done. After what's done? After Sunday. The thing with your family? Yeah. You planning to get in a fight? Planning to avoid one. But if it happens, I want to be ready. Billy studied me. You know fighting your family is different than fighting strangers, right? You can't just hit your son and walk away. I know. Do you? Because you've got that look in your eye, that focus. I've seen it before in guys who are about to do something stupid. I'm not going to start anything, but I'm not going to back down either. That's the same thing, Owen. That's the same thing. I left before he could say anything else. At work, I got a call from Dale in accounting. Hey, Owen, you know anything about Brandt Development? Why? Because my wife's company just pulled out of talks with them. Something about a pending inspection and safety concerns. I thought maybe you'd heard something since your son works there. I haven't heard anything. Weird, because the inspector apparently moved up his schedule, going this Friday instead of next month. Maybe they had a cancellation. Maybe. Dale paused. Look, I'm just asking because my wife's boss said someone sent him a whole file of documentation about Brandt's safety record. Photos, complaints, The works. Very thorough. Very damaging. My hand tightened on the phone. Did he say who sent it? Anonymous. But professional. Like someone who knew exactly what they were looking for. Another pause. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you? Why would I? Because you're in safety. You know how to spot violations. And your son works for Brandt, so you'd have access to their sites. I haven't been on their sites. Right. Of course. He didn't sound convinced. Well, anyway, thought you'd want to know. Sounds like Brandt's about to have a rough week. He hung up. I sat there for a moment. Someone else had gotten documentation. Someone I'd sent information to had passed it along to potential clients. Good. That was good. The more people who knew about Victor's practices, the better. My phone rang again. This time it was Mia. Owen, Harper called me. What did she want? She wanted to know if you'd done something to interfere with a contract Brandt Development was trying to close. Apparently, a client pulled out this morning, and Victor thinks someone sabotaged it. Did you tell her anything? I told her I had no idea what she was talking about, but Owen, she said Victor's calling in favors, trying to figure out who's behind it. He won't find anything. I didn't break any laws. That won't stop him from making your life hell. Let him try. Owen, I'm serious. Victor's connected. He can... I know what he can do, Mia. I'm counting on it. I want him to come after me. I want him angry and sloppy. Why? Because angry people make mistakes. And when Victor makes a mistake, I'll be there to document it. She was quiet for a long moment. This isn't about protecting EJ anymore, is it? This is about winning. It was always about winning. That's the only language people like Victor understand. And what about us? What about our family? Our family ended the second Liam threatened to take away EJ. Now I'm just dealing with the aftermath. God, listen to yourself. You sound like Victor. That stopped me. What? You heard me. You sound exactly like him. Cold, strategic, willing to hurt people to prove a point. I'm nothing like Victor. Are you sure? Because from where I'm standing, you're using the same tactics. The only difference is you think you're right. I am right. That's what every villain thinks. She hung up. I sat there in my office, staring at the phone. Mia's words echoing in my head. You sound like Victor. No, that wasn't true. Victor humiliated children for fun. Victor built an empire on cutting corners and exploiting workers. Victor destroyed anyone who challenged him. I was just holding him accountable. Right? I shook it off. Went back to work. Buried myself in inspections and paperwork. But the words wouldn't leave. They sat in my brain like a splinter. You sound like Victor. Thursday evening, I drove to Victor's construction site, the downtown one where the inspection would happen tomorrow. It was after hours, the workers gone. Security was minimal, a fence, some lights, no guards. I parked a block away, walked to the fence, found a gap where the chain link didn't quite meet the post, slipped through. The site was a mess, exposed rebar, electrical boxes with missing covers, scaffolding that looked like it had been assembled by someone who'd never read the instructions. I took photos with my phone, dated them, made notes about what I was seeing, all things the inspector would find tomorrow. I wasn't planting evidence, just documenting what was already there. I was halfway through when I heard a voice. Can I help you? I turned. A security guard stood behind me. Young guy, probably early 20s, flashlight in one hand, radio in the other. Sorry, I said. Wrong site. I'm looking for the Morrison complex. This is Brandt Development. You need to leave. My mistake. How'd you get in here? The gate was open. No, it wasn't. Must have been the wind then. He moved closer. I need to see some ID. I'm just lost. I'll go. ID. Now. I thought about it. Thought about what would happen if he called this in. If he ran my name and found out my son worked for Brandt. If Victor found out I'd been on his site. Look, I said. I'm maintenance supervisor at Morrison. I thought this was one of our contractor sites. Honest mistake. You said you were looking for Morrison. I am. I thought this was the extension project. He wasn't buying it. Stay here. I'm calling this in. He reached for his radio. I moved before I could think about it. Closed the distance. Grabbed the radio before he could key it. Don't, I said. Let go of the radio. I will. But I need you to listen first. I'm calling the police. There are safety violations all over this site, serious ones. People could get hurt. So take a look around, really look, and then ask yourself if you want to be the guard who was here when someone gets injured. He hesitated. What are you talking about? I pointed to the scaffolding. That's not secured properly. See how the base plates aren't level? One strong wind and it comes down. That's not my job. And that electrical box, see the exposed wires? That's a fire hazard. Maybe worse. Why do you care? Because I have a grandson, and I don't want him growing up in a world where companies like this get away with putting people at risk. The guard looked at the scaffolding, then the electrical box. Shit. Yeah. Who are you? Nobody. Just a guy who notices things. I let go of his radio. Tomorrow morning, there's going to be a state inspection. They're going to find all of this. And when they do, whoever's in charge is going to have a very bad day. Mr. Brandt's in charge. I know. The guard stared at me. You did this on purpose. You're trying to get him in trouble. I'm trying to make sure this site is safe. If that gets him in trouble, that's on him. I should report you. You could, but then you'd have to explain why you let someone onto the site, why you didn't notice the violations yourself, why you work security for a company that cuts corners. He looked around again, at the mess, the obvious problems. Get out of here, he finally said, and don't come back. Fair enough. I left, walked back to my truck, sat there for a minute, heart pounding. That was stupid, reckless. If he reported me, if Victor found out, but he wouldn't report me, because he'd looked at that site and seen what I saw, a disaster waiting to happen, and he didn't want to be the guy standing there when it did. I drove home, found Mia waiting in the kitchen. Where were you? She asked. Driving. For 3 hours? I needed to think. About? About what you said, about me sounding like Victor. She waited. You're wrong, I said. I'm nothing like him. Okay. I'm not doing this to hurt people. I'm doing this to protect them. By destroying Victor's company? By ruining Liam's career? By exposing the truth. If that destroys them, they destroyed themselves. Mia stood up, walked to the window. You know what I think? What? I think you're lying to yourself. I think this stopped being about EJ days ago. Now it's about winning, about proving you're not the lesser man. That's not... Yes, it is. She turned around. You've spent 8 years watching Victor look down on you, watching Liam choose them over us, and now you have a chance to prove you're smarter, tougher, better than all of them. That's what this is really about. You're wrong. Am I? Then tell me this. When it's over, when Victor's reputation is destroyed and Liam's lost everything, what happens then? Do we all just go back to being a family? I didn't answer. That's what I thought, she said. Because we won't. This ends with us losing our son, and maybe our grandson. Is that really worth it? They're the ones who made the threat. And you're the one making sure they have to follow through with it. She left the kitchen. I heard her footsteps on the stairs, the bedroom door closing. I sat there alone, her words running through my head. You're lying to yourself. Was I? I thought about the last week, the research, the planning, the satisfaction I'd felt when Dale told me about the pulled contract. Was this still about protecting EJ? Or had it become something else? I pushed the thought away, went down to the basement, looked at my timeline. Tomorrow was Friday, the inspection, the first real blow against Victor, and I was going to be there to watch it happen. Friday morning, I called in sick to work. First time in 5 years. Then I drove to Victor's downtown site, parked across the street with a view of the entrance. Thomas Brennan arrived at 9:15. He had 2 assistants with him. They spent 15 minutes just walking the perimeter taking notes. Workers started arriving at 9:30. By 10, I saw Victor's Mercedes pull up. He got out, looking furious, and marched over to Brennan. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but the body language told the story. Victor gesturing, Brennan standing firm, the assistants continuing their inspection. It went on for hours. Workers were pulled aside for interviews. Equipment was examined. Photos were taken. At one point, Victor pulled out his phone, made a call, paced while he talked, probably calling his lawyer. At 2 in the afternoon, the site was shut down. Yellow tape went up. Workers were sent home. Victor stood in the middle of it all, looking like someone had just burned down his house. I took a photo of that. Just for myself. Then I drove home, found a message from Liam on my phone. I know it was you. I don't know how you did it, but I know. Victor knows too. You just declared war on the wrong family. I texted back. He declared war on mine first. No response. That evening, Mia came home from work. She'd heard about the shutdown through the clinic grapevine. How do you feel? She asked. Good. Better than I have in years. That's what worries me. Why? Because you shouldn't feel good about this. You should feel conflicted, concerned, something other than satisfied. Victor's site is shut down. His workers are safe. His violations are exposed. Why shouldn't I feel good? Because your son hates you right now. Because we might never see our grandson again. Because you're turning into the kind of person who measures success by how much damage they can do. I'm measuring success by whether I protected my family. By destroying part of it? I didn't answer that. Couldn't answer it. Because she was right. And I knew it. But I couldn't stop now. Not when I was this close to finishing it. The weekend passed in a blur of phone calls and text messages. Liam called 17 times. I didn't answer. Harper left voicemails threatening legal action. I deleted them. Victor himself called once on Sunday morning. I stared at his name on the screen for a long time before letting it go to voicemail. Owen, his message said. I know what you did. I don't know how yet, but I will. And when I do, you're finished. You think you're clever? You think you can come after my company and walk away? You're nobody. You're a maintenance man who got lucky once. That luck just ran out. I saved the message. Evidence of threats. Mia moved through the house like a ghost. We barely spoke. She made meals. I ate them. She watched TV. I sat in the basement with my timeline. Monday morning, I went back to work. Dale from accounting was waiting by my office. So, he said, did you hear about Brandt Development? What about them? They got hit with a stop work order on 3 sites. Not just the downtown one. Apparently the inspection found so many violations that the state decided to check their other active projects. Found problems everywhere. That's unfortunate. Is it? Or is it karmic justice for cutting corners? Probably both. Dale leaned against the wall. Owen, I'm going to ask you something and I want an honest answer. Okay. Did you do this? Do what? Don't play dumb. Did you tip off the inspector? Did you send those files to my wife's company? Did you orchestrate this whole thing? I looked at him. What makes you think I could do something like that? Because I've worked with you for 15 years. I've seen how you think, how you plan. You're the guy who notices everything and forgets nothing. And Victor Brandt humiliated your grandson. I didn't answer. Dale smiled. You magnificent bastard. You actually did it. I didn't do anything illegal. I didn't say you did, but you pointed all the right people in all the right directions. Beautiful. Dale, don't worry. I'm not going to say anything. Hell, I respect it. Victor's been screwing over workers and cutting corners for years. Someone needed to call him on it. He walked away, still smiling. I sat in my office, staring at the wall. Someone needed to call him on it. But at what cost? Tuesday afternoon, I got a visit I wasn't expecting. Liam showed up at Morrison, asked for me at the front desk. The receptionist called down to my office. "Your son's here," she said. "Tell him I'm busy. He says it's important. It always is. Owen, he looks upset." I sighed. "Send him down." Liam appeared in my doorway 5 minutes later. He looked terrible. Eyes red, hair uncombed, shirt wrinkled. "Dad." "Liam, can we talk?" "We're talking now." "Somewhere private?" I gestured to my office. "This is as private as it gets." He came in, closed the door, stood there looking lost. "Victor fired me," he said. I waited. "He said he needs to restructure after the inspections, cut costs, and I'm one of those costs." "I'm sorry to hear that." "Are you? Are you really?" "You're my son. Of course I'm sorry. But you're also satisfied, right? Because this is what you wanted." "I wanted Victor to be held accountable for his violations. I didn't want you to lose your job." "That's bullshit, and you know it." Liam's voice cracked. "You did this. You orchestrated this whole thing to hurt him, and you knew it would hurt me too. I didn't know he'd fire you." "Yes, you did. You know exactly how Victor operates. You knew he'd look for someone to blame, and you knew I'd be the easiest target." He was right. I had known. Maybe not consciously, but somewhere in the back of my mind, I'd known that taking down Victor would take down Liam too. "What do you want me to say?" I asked. "I want you to tell me why. Why you're doing this. Why you hate us so much." "I don't hate you." "Then what do you call this? What do you call destroying my father-in-law's company, costing me my job, ruining my career?" "I call it consequences." "For what? For Victor teaching EJ about respect? For Victor humiliating him? For you backing it up? For you threatening to take my grandson away? So this is revenge. This is justice." Liam laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Justice. Right. That's what you're calling it. Victor built his company on safety violations and cutting corners. He destroyed people who challenged him. Someone needed to stop it. And it had to be you? It had to be someone. Bullshit. This is about your ego, about proving you're better than him. This is about protecting people. No, Dad. This is about you being angry that I married into a better family, that I got opportunities you never had, that I moved up in the world. That hit close. Too close. Better family? I repeated. The family that humiliates children? That destroys anyone who disagrees with them? That threatens grandparents with losing their grandson? We wouldn't have threatened that if you hadn't walked out. I walked out to protect EJ. You walked out to prove a point. You wanted to show everyone that you're the righteous one, the moral one. But you know what? You're just a bitter old man who can't stand that his son did better than him." I stood up. "Get out." "No, you need to hear this." Liam moved closer. "You talk about Victor destroying people, but what do you think you're doing? What do you call taking away my career, my income, my ability to provide for my family? I call it the same thing Victor calls firing people who challenge him, consequences. I'm your son. Then act like it." The words came out louder than I intended. "Act like the son I raised, the one who would have stood up for his own kid instead of defending the man who hurt him. I did stand up for him. I was teaching him that sometimes authority figures are right, even when it doesn't feel good. He's 8 years old, Liam. He doesn't need that lesson yet. He needs to know his family has his back." "His family does have his back. You're the one tearing it apart." We stood there, both breathing hard, both on the edge. "I can't get another job in this city," Liam said quietly. "Victor's telling people I was part of the safety violations, that I knew about them and didn't report them." "Did you?" "What?" "Did you know about the violations?" Liam looked away. "I saw some things. And you didn't report them. It wasn't my job to. It was everyone's job, Liam. That's what safety means. You don't understand. If I'd said something, Victor would have fired me years ago. So you kept quiet to keep your job. I kept quiet to provide for my family. By helping Victor build unsafe buildings. I didn't help him do anything. You looked the other way. That's the same thing. Liam's face crumpled. For a second, he looked like the little boy I used to know. The one who came to me when he was scared. The one who trusted me to make things right. What am I supposed to do now? He asked. You find a new job. A better one. Working for someone who doesn't cut corners. It's not that simple. It is that simple. You just don't want to start over. I have a mortgage, a family, bills. So did I when I left the army. I figured it out. This is different. It's exactly the same. You made choices. Now you live with them. You're really not going to help me. What do you want me to do, Liam? Call Victor and apologize? Pretend I didn't see what I saw? I want you to be my father. I am being your father. I'm showing you that actions have consequences. That you can't just go along with wrong because it's convenient. By destroying my life? Victor destroyed your life the second he built his company on lies. I just exposed it. Liam wiped his eyes. Harper wants to file a restraining order against you. For what? Harassment. Stalking. She's convinced you've been following her. I haven't. Doesn't matter. She's going to tell the judge you're dangerous, that you're fixated on destroying our family. And what do you think? I think you're succeeding. He walked to the door, stopped, turned back. You know what the worst part is? He said. I actually looked up to you. When I was a kid, I thought you were the strongest man I knew. You'd been in the army. You fixed things. You always knew what to do. And now? Now I realize you're just good at breaking things, including us. He left. I sat down at my desk, put my head in my hands. Mia was right. This had stopped being about EJ. Now it was just destruction. That night, I didn't go home. I drove to Billy's gym even though it wasn't a training day. He was closing up when I arrived. Owen? What are you doing here? Can we talk? He looked at me, saw something in my face. Yeah, come on in. We sat in the empty gym, boxing equipment hanging on the walls, the smell of sweat and rubber. My son came to see me today, I said, told me I destroyed his life. Did you? I exposed his father-in-law's corruption. It cost my son his job. So yes, it's more complicated than that. It always is. Billy leaned back. You remember what I told you about fighting family? You said it's different than fighting strangers. I said you can't walk away from it. Whatever you do, you carry it forever. He paused. So tell me, was it worth it? I don't know yet. That's the wrong answer. You should know before you throw the punch. I didn't throw any punches. I just showed people the truth. Same thing, Owen. Same thing. I looked around the gym. When I was in the army, everything was clear, right and wrong, enemy and ally. You had rules, structure. And now? Now I don't know what I am. I thought I was protecting my grandson, but my son says I'm just destroying his family. Can't both be true? I don't know. Billy stood up, went to the heavy bag, gave it a push, watched it swing. You want my advice? He said. That's why I'm here. Stop. Whatever you're doing, however far you've gone, stop now, before you lose them completely. I can't stop. Not yet. Why not? Because Victor's still out there, still telling people my son was complicit, still trying to shift blame. If I stop now, he wins. And if you keep going, I make sure he can't hurt anyone else. At the cost of losing your family. They're already lost. Billy walked back over, sat down, looked at me with something like pity. No, they're not yet. But they will be if you finish this. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I've seen it before. Guy gets wronged, decides to make it right, goes too far, loses everything that mattered in the first place. He paused. Don't be that guy, Owen. Too late. It's never too late. You can still walk away. I've come too far. That's what they all say. I stood up. Thanks for the talk. Owen, I need to go. I left before he could say anything else. Drove around for an hour. Ended up at the construction site, the one where the inspection had happened. Still shut down. Yellow tape flapping in the wind. Empty. I sat in my truck and stared at it. This was supposed to feel good. This was supposed to be justice. So why did it feel like I'd just burned down my own house? My phone rang. Mia, I answered. Come home, she said. Please, just come home. I don't know if I can. Yes, you can. Just drive home. Walk through the door. We'll figure out the rest. Liam came to see me. I know, he called me after. He thinks I destroyed his life. Did you? I exposed Victor's violations. That's all. Owen, did you destroy his life? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Yeah, I finally said. I think I did. Then come home, and we'll figure out how to fix it. I don't know if I can fix it. You can try. That's all anyone can do. Just try. I drove home. Found Mia waiting in the living room. She didn't say anything, just held out her arms. I went to her. Let her hold me while I shook. I think I made a mistake, I said. I know. I think I went too far. I know. I don't know how to fix it. We'll figure it out, together. But even as she said it, I knew it wasn't true. Because some things, once broken, can't be fixed. And I'd just broken my family beyond repair.